What's up, everybody? Josh or Miho here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the new album from the band Gorguts, entitled Colored Sands. This is released on Season of Mist. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Richmond, Quebec, Canada. And honestly, Gorguts is one of those legendary, pioneering death metal institutions that has been responsible for delivering some of the most awesome, off-the-wall, hard-working death metal to ever be heard. Honestly, when I think of Gorguts, the first two things that come to mind for me are easily the first two albums that this band ever did, Considered Dead and The Erosion of Sanity. Both of those albums solidified what Gorguts were all about, both on a musical and lyrical standpoint. I mean, back when Roadrunner Records was establishing themselves as a hard-working metal label, yeah, those albums really showcased what Gorguts were all about. I mean, Considered Dead is just so damn good. And even The Erosion of Sanity, which followed that up, was just as simply amazing. Just when Gorguts were simply just straightforward kind of death metal. But then we fast forward to 1998, and then things take a drastic change. And that drastic change happened to be Obscura. That's when things started to become a little bit more dissonant, a lot more technical, and a lot more fascinating. Wherein we are now in the current era that Gorguts play now. They still keep things within death metal, but as far as the music goes, the tempos, and just everything else in between, it's just fascinating. And Obscura was one of those albums that got a lot of people talking. A lot of people that I know in real life and amongst the metal world love Obscura. That album is just so damn amazing. Even the follow-up that they did to that particular record, From Wisdom to Hate, was just sensational in its own right. Yeah, just some really amazing technical death metal to be heard with those particular albums, really showcasing what Gorguts were setting forward to do and create a new standard in death metal. But yeah, it's been 12 years since the last Gorguts album, and of course there's been a lot of trials and tribulations that have gone through with this band, some positive, some negative, but when word got out that Gorguts were going to be releasing a new album, I was very much interested. And what interested me more was the fact as to whom was going to be involved in this particular Gorguts lineup. Of course, you have the great Luc Lemay, who has been with this band since day one, helming the vocals and guitars. But then you get the addition of Colin Marston and Kevin Hufnagel. They both play in the band Dysrhythmia, just some incredible technical progressive metal, just great instrumental stuff. And of course, you know Colin Marston from Krallice. I love the hell out of Krallice, one of my favorite American black metal bands. And of course, and they also get John Longstreth, whom you know as the drummer from Origin. He is one of the fastest, most hardest working drummers out there. Just one of the best drummers in modern death metal, in my opinion. That was the lineup that they had for this record, and when I first heard Forgotten Arrows, I was just blown away. Holy shit. That song was just so awesome. I loved everything about it. I just loved the way the guitar sounded, the great audible bass, the awesome drum work, great lyrics, great speed. It's just sensational, and it only made me wonder what was this album going to be like? What was Colored Sands going to be like? And now we have the fifth full-length album. After a long period of wait, we have Colored Sands. It's 9 tracks, and it clocks in at around 63 minutes in length. So this isn't one of those albums that you have to skip through or fast forward really quickly. This is something you really need to just absorb and just take time listening to. This is the type of record that Colored Sands is. And pretty much, I believe this is an album that definitely is patient when it comes to getting things going off the ground. Of course, you have the opening track with Les Toits du Monde, but then moving on to An Ocean of Wisdom. Seriously, one of the best songs off of this album, and one of the best songs of the year, in my opinion. And then from then on there, you're going to be on an amazing journey on both a musical and lyrical front. I mean, in my personal opinion, this is obvious to me personally. This is the best thing that Gorguts have done as far as their modern technical death metal sound is concerned. This to me blows away both Obscura and From Wisdom to Hate as far as that era of Gorguts is concerned. And this album has been far worth the wait, in my opinion. The guitar work on here is just so dissonant, so heavy, so punishing. I mean, you get those riffs instantly on the opening track, but then as you get on to later songs like An Ocean of Wisdom and even the title track, you just get some very creative, heavy, monolithic riffs. There's some great guitar interplay going on. The riffs are just dissonant, they're heavy, they're chunky. I just love the way that the riffs are being played. Even the solo work that appears on here, it's played in a very beautiful and tasteful manner. And to the later half of the album, things get to be a little bit more in depth, a little bit more hard-working. And you hear that on tracks like Ember's Voice and Absconders. You just get some amazing, great guitar work. I just love the interplay, and I just love the way that that the guitars are being used on this particular album. The bass work is just high-level, top-notch stuff. You couldn't ask for a better bass tone than on here. I just love the way the bass is played. I mean, when I first heard Forgotten Arrows, just that loud bass lick towards the beginnings of the song, it was just sensational. But all the way throughout, the tone is nice and crisp. It's very clear, very well produced and mixed. I love this bass guitar, and it just definitely tells the story of this entire record. When it comes to the drums are so amazing. I mean, I think John Longstreth is an amazing drummer, but hearing this album in particular definitely showcases the type of hard work that he can definitely do. He can do the fills, the rolls, the blast beats, the double bass. He can do all of that great. But here with Gorguts, it's a whole different story. I think it's sensational, the type of drum work that he does here. It's so amazing. It's hardworking. It's methodical at times, but yet he definitely showcases the hard work and speeds that he's known for doing. Going again back to the second half of this album, you hear some moments on this album as if he's breaking off into more contemporary jazz type of territories, just the way some of the drum patterns are. I think it's really sensational, and I definitely think it adds a touch of class and variety to this album. I keep mentioning the first and second half of this album because it's all met in the middle by a song called The Battle of Chamdo. This sounds like something you would hear in a major Hollywood blockbuster. The type of musicianship that's being evidenced on that song, the violins, the violas, the horns, just a whole bunch of cinematic, epic musicianship being done with that particular instrumental. And I definitely think it adds a little bit of a break in between some of the lengthier songs, because a lot of these songs are pretty long, like average running time would be about 7 to 9 minutes in length, Absconders being the longest song on here. But this instrumental is definitely a vital key piece of music for the album in itself, and I think it's great. Now, we get to the vocals. Luc Lemay's vocals are sensational. The conviction in his voice, his growls, his rasps, they're there, and they work so good. I just love the way he sounds, just the power in his voice. You can tell he still knows exactly what he's doing, and the way he delivers his words, the way he says everything, his growls, his screams, it's just all there, and it sounds amazing. And one thing to point out about this album is the lyrical themes and aspects of this album. I was listening to this album, and I was going through the booklet. And that's one of the joys of getting a physical album, is you get to look through the lyrics and read everything, and you notice all these quotes, all these quotes having to do with the Tibetan mountains, Mount Everest, the Himalayas, Dalai Lama quotes, a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. of all folks. Yeah, just a lot of unique bits and pieces to be added to this album, and definitely it adds a major factor in this album's style with the lyrical themes and contents. I mean, this album is pretty much as heavy and as monolithic as the mountains that are described here. I think it's sensational, and I really appreciate the fact that they're willing to be creative and be bold when it comes to the themes and the concepts of this album. It just gives the overall vibe and atmosphere of Colored Sands just a lot more to sink into, and I think it's beautiful. Just beautiful stuff being done with this particular album. So overall, I definitely say that the hype is justified for this album. This has been an album that I know a lot of people have been wanting to hear and listen to, and I'd say that Colored Sands is one of the best albums of 2013. This is a great, great record. Of course, like I said before, this isn't one of those albums that you have to fast forward through. You have to sit through and listen to everything and absorb everything and just get in tune with everything, and you just have a record that's just so crushing and powerful and heavy all the way throughout. This is an hour's worth of music that will make you love death metal and appreciate the finer things and finer aspects of the style. I mean, it's not considered dead or the erosion of sanity. Those to me are the quintessential Gorguts records as far as as their real death metal side is concerned. But as far as their current stage, this is the one for me. I love Colored Sands. This is a great album. And if you're a fan of Gorguts, I'd say give it a shot. If you love it, love it. If you don't like it, just stick to the classics. That's all I can really tell you. So if I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say An Ocean of Wisdom. Such a great song. Forgotten Arrows, the instrumental, the Battle of Chamdo, Ember's Voice, Absconders. Just some great stuff. So I'm going to leave you a link in the description box to the Season of Mist Bandcamp, where you can stream this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, be your own judge, stream it there officially. It is available digitally in most formats: Bandcamp, iTunes, Amazon. It's streaming on Spotify. You can buy this pretty much anywhere. Any national retailer has it. It's available in a jewel case, digipack, 2LP. Yeah, get this however you're able to. This is really awesome stuff. And I'm going to show you the album again. This is Colored Sands by Gorguts. This is released on Season of Mist. Check this album out. And as far as the score is concerned, I'm going to give this a very strong 9 out of 10. Sensational album from first track to last. This is an amazing record. Gorguts are back with a vengeance. And that's it. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until the next time, Armijo out.